Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Eric Shore, your host today. I'm the president of Secure Future Tech Solutions, and I want to welcome you to our second Securing Your Future webinar series. We have a great session today. Everybody keeps talking about AI, AI, AI. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick session with my dear friend Joel Evans, which I'll introduce in a second. And we're going to talk about the power of AI to grow your business. And we're actually going to give you some real world tips on you can start using AI in your business today. So very briefly, as I mentioned, I'm Eric Shore. I've been in business for 32 years. I can't even believe where the time has gone by. I've seen such a tremendous shift in technology in those years. When I first started, no one had high-speed internet. We had dial-up modems. And today we're talking about AI and all the great stuff that it can do for you. So there's been tremendous amount of advancements. So enough about me, though. I want to introduce our special guest, who is a very dear friend of mine, Joel Evans. So Joel, tell me a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, you said 30 plus years, so I'll say 30 plus years as well, but I like to hide that, because I look so young. I always tell people that I'm a tech guy who speaks human or a tech leader who speaks human. And what I mean by that is I can align with my stakeholders, I can understand their challenges, and then I always say, let's forget about the technology. I think you and I are very similar there. It's like, let's just focus on the
Absolutely.
problem. It's our value add that we know the technology. So I've been fortunate to make my living off of something I'm incredibly passionate about, which is emerging technologies. So I really specialize in that funky new thing you heard about, helping companies understand what it's going to mean for their business. So I did that with mobile, with the lottery for GTech back in the day. One of the very first people to use Alexa, both in the hotel and university settings. Pre and during COVID, brought companies over to being able to use unified communications, so Teams, Zoom, et cetera, so that they could be productive from anywhere. And then obviously these days, and what we're talking about today is really how to leverage AI. And there's a bazillion different ways to leverage AI. We don't have a lot of time to cover all of it, but I definitely want everybody who's attending this webinar to walk away feeling like they can start something right away as soon as the webinar is over. So that's our goal, and really excited to have the opportunity to talk to everybody.
I'm super excited to have you here, Joel. And a couple years ago, when everybody was making the move to Microsoft Teams, we even brought you in to come and train our team. And that was fantastic because it's such a powerful tool. And today, there isn't anything more emerging technology than AI. I mean, this is the cutting edge. This is something that 2 years ago we weren't really using all that much, and today we are. And so let's talk today about a few things. So our agenda that we're going to discuss with Joel today is we're going to talk about how AI is transforming the way we are all doing business, every single one of us. We're going to share some AI tools that can make you more productive, and you can start using them today. So this is not the future here. Today it's now. We'll also give you some examples of AI and how you can use them in your meetings. And this is something that I've been leveraging, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the tool I'm using. And then
Mhm.
finally, to get the real power of AI, and when you're using ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or any other number of the bots that are out there, how to construct the perfect prompt, because you have to know what you're asking for. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results that you want. So let's Joel, tell me. So how is AI transforming businesses today?
Sure. Well, I think you just mentioned a number of the pieces, and I think we're going to be diving in deeper and sort of doing a micro focus on meetings. But when you really think about it, it's at the top line is automating repetitive tasks and processes. We've been looking at tools to do that forever with automation, but really with AI, it just takes it to a whole other level because it can be intelligent enough to actually watch what you're doing and then look for ways of streamlining. So we don't even have to think, how can I streamline this? It could really be like, watch what I'm doing, and then tell me where maybe I can improve things. Certainly on the decision making, customer experiences, the biggest thing that we're seeing is really when it comes to interactions with customer service folks. I think we've all been sort of fatigued by the overuse of chatbots on websites because immediately they say, I'm a virtual assistant, how can I help you? And you try typing like representative or customer service, whatever you can to get to the human. So we're seeing a lot of improvements in the sort of the chatbot, the interactions there to really help make sure that you're not wasting your time and that internally from a company standpoint, it's freeing up the humans for the more complex issues. So if we start getting used to actually feeding the chatbot the right information, it's going to channel us to the right person. And I've already seen that in a lot of my own personal experiences. I tend to always start with the chatbot, but these days it's much better at sort of directing you, getting you to the human that can actually make a difference fast. Another big piece, and a lot of people don't talk as much about this, but it happens a lot with research, and certainly on the medical side and the biopharma is really analyzing large data sets and looking for patterns. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the medical field right now with looking for false positives and as well as for fraud detection outside of the medical field. So fraud detection, on the cybersecurity side, we can look for different patterns. So a lot of great things happening there. And then we've got here like inventory management, and we already talked about the user satisfaction. And then overall, it's really the cost savings that come with it. So as far as hitting on inventory management, again, it's really being more aware of forecasting, and it knows that based on patterns and behaviors and sell through that may have occurred in the past. And really, overall, all these different pieces then end up providing a substantial cost savings.
What are some other ways, Joel, that businesses, maybe, we have a wide variety of businesses on the call today that can take advantage of some of the cost savings that AI can provide?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing is really taking a look at how you could leverage AI in your business. And what I recommend for that and what we do with our clients is we look at the processes end to end of running your business. And then we are looking for things like what are some of the repetitive tasks and processes. There's substantial savings in time that have actually come up. Even most recently, I can pull up some quick stats on um, using AI at work, and certainly we'll talk about some of these, but helping you be more creative and more productive, and really focus on the most important work. And all that sounds kind of fluffy, but when you think about it, Microsoft did a survey of over 31,000 people across 31 countries. And just to give you stats, because everybody loves stats, right? The power users are saying that AI is saving more than 30 minutes a day of their time several times a week. And 92% said that their overwhelming workload is more manageable. 92% said it boosted their creativity. 91% feel more motivated, and 91% enjoy work more. So you can see right there how across the board, when we start looking at where AI can really help, it's helping with our attitudes, with our productivity, and with our workload. Because I think we're all inundated with crazy amounts of emails and calls and everything else. And so,
Yeah,
that's a big
it's a
saver.
fantastic thing, Joel. And so we've been using it here at Secure Future, and let's just do some quick math. So let's say your business has 20 employees, and if they're all leveraging AI in some fashion, and they're able to realize that 30 minutes a day, I mean, that is some significant savings right there. So across 20 employees, 30 minutes a day. I mean, that's 10 hours a day right there. So time is money. So
Yeah.
these are the tools that we're using. I know internally here, my amazing marketing team, Lisa and Maddie, they're using AI to generate outlines for presentations, and then we take it from there. But just to generate the outline, and that's something that you can ask it to generate a presentation on whatever the topic, right?
Yep.
Cybersecurity. And then it'll whip out an outline in less than 30 seconds. It's pretty amazing stuff. So let's talk about some more of the benefits,
Well, I
Joel.
was actually building on what you were just saying, Eric. What's crazy is tools like Microsoft Copilot Premium as an example, and some of the others we're going to talk about today, when they start leveraging your own data, right? Because we take notes in all of our meetings, we've got all this information that we've gathered, presentations, documents, et cetera. When you really start using AI the right way, that's really where you see the most time savings, right? So let's say Lisa's putting together some marketing thing, but she wants to reference a whole bunch of her past stuff. Normally, you do a whole bunch of searching, try to find the right document, try to figure out where what you want to do. Instead, if you write the right prompts into the system, you basically can surface, and then it'll even show you the reference points of which documents it pulled. I used that similar process for putting together the slides, the initial slide thinking and the outline for this presentation. It actually cited me as a source repeatedly before even going, to the outside world, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is a tremendous time saver, and we can generate more presentations, more work in less time. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. So what are some of the other benefits, Joel? How can we kind of start putting this together here at Secure Future or whatever business that's on the call today?
Yeah, absolutely. So you already talked about being more, I guess, sort of creative and productive, and focusing on the work at hand. So those are really the big pieces. And when you think about it, at the top point is really experimenting with new prompts. And if you're not familiar with prompts, we'll take the audience through it a little bit. But a prompt is not like a typical search engine query that most people think it is. It could be, a page and a half. I was just on the phone with somebody this morning who was telling me, for research purposes, that she knows folks that write, page and a half prompts because it gives the AI enough to work with. But really, the biggest thing, like I mentioned before, how you can get started with it is really taking a look at what your company does, what your day-to-day processes are, where you are today, where you want to be in the future, and then really start thinking again, my second bullet down, like how could AI help me with this? And it is a mind shift. It's a cultural shift, right? So Eric, you were talking about how you just started using it in meetings. It is 100% a cultural shift to then say, I should take a minute here and think, how can AI help? And if you're not familiar with it, there's a whole bunch of sites out there, but one of the ones that's been around since the beginning is literally called there's an AI for that .com. And if you go there, if any of the people on the webinar want to do that, you go to there's an AI for that .com. It's all categorized, and it'll just show you how fast new tools are
I mean,
coming
it's
to market.
overwhelming the amount of options that are
Yeah.
there. But what we ended up doing is boiling it down to a few tools that you can
Mhm.
start using today. Now, this is not a comprehensive list, but this list right here is something that each and every one of you can start using today. I will give you a great example. So when we were preparing for this presentation, Joel mentioned Read.ai, which is a note-taking app. And so I signed up Secure Future for Read.ai, and it joins all of my meetings, my Teams meetings, my Zoom meetings as an attendee, and it takes notes for me. And then not only does it take great notes, but it summarizes everything for me. And I'll show you what an example of the output is in a little bit. But it's been fantastic because now I can spend more time on my meetings with my clients actually listening and having good dialogues and conversations with them, and not worried about taking notes, which I take notes religiously. I have for 20 years using OneNote, but now I
Mhm.
can focus on my clients, and then I'm going to get the summary with action items, and it's pretty fantastic. So Read.ai, and that's something, they have a free version, they have a paid version as well. So I've been experimenting with the free version right now, and I'm loving it. It's
Yep.
fantastic. Now, Joel, walk us through some of these other things, because these are all
Yeah.
some great tools that everyone can use.
Well, I'll continue on your Read AI use case for a minute. So the crazy thing is, and I think that this is really where we're going to see sort of the market moving anyway. Someone that I know was supposed to join a webinar with me. Neither of us could make it, but what surprised me at the end was she had invited her Read AI account to the webinar. So I got a recap of the webinar. And, to your point, Eric, it had a full recording of the webinar. It had a full transcription of the webinar. It had the summary points. They were all hyperlinkable to go to that exact point, in the webinar. So really, if you think about it from that standpoint, just imagine the productivity savings, right? So now if I wanted to catch up with the person who was doing the webinar, and again, we don't encourage you to sign up and not attend them, like we probably have some bots doing that today for us. But the advantage is now I'm not calling someone and saying, hey, what did I miss? Can you bring me up to speed? I actually can either watch the entire webinar or just grab those summary points. So that's, Read AI, Fathom.video is another one, Otter AI. They all do something very similar where, to your point, Eric, they'll transcribe the meeting, but then they'll actually put the summary together, the action items, et cetera, so you can focus on the content of your meeting and less on whether or not you made sure you captured every single, little note. And then another piece, which I found pretty amazing, is inside of Microsoft Copilot Premium in a Teams meeting, like you mentioned. Imagine joining late, like we never do that, right? Join a meeting late. But it actually already has the context, has captured the action items, and you can interact with the meeting if you think about it from that perspective via chat and say, like, okay, what did I miss? What are the top things? What should we be covering? So you can bring yourself up to speed instead of having to slow everybody else down to then take it to the next level. So when you think about some of those advancements that are coming, the initial focus was, okay, meeting summary, action, next steps, et cetera, being captured. But even in Google Workplace, they actually call them, like take notes for me and attend the meeting for me. So you can see that is going to become the natural evolution of productivity as we move forward to enhancing our meeting experiences.
Yeah, some of these tools are already being included. Like if you have a Zoom license, Zoom
Yep.
has added AI functionality and note-taking abilities right built into Zoom, and it doesn't cost you anything extra,
Yep.
which is a plus. Now, Teams, it is an additional license. It's a premium license for Teams, but that also does a lot of the similar stuff that Read AI does. So it
Yep.
gives summaries, it transcribes, and it is definitely a wonderful addition. So, anybody out there that's interested in adding that functionality to their Teams environment, please reach out to me because we can help you add
Yeah.
that license. And
And
just to,
then
go ahead.
it takes it to a whole other level too, right? So right now we're just micro focused on the meeting experience, but when you think about Copilot Premium, just imagine going from going from that meeting, having the action items, and then moving over to Excel, and you're using Copilot, and one of the action items is to increase the stock of a particular widget, right? So now you can go over to Excel and basically start with prompts and asking Excel, what the status is on that supply or this, that, or the other, or what's the cost associated with it if I'm going to, fast track or load up on that particular widget at that particular time. So it really takes the use cases to a whole other level. Again, getting back to one of the previous slides, it's like, how can I better use AI, in my workday to do X, Y, and Z? Really should be your, sort of prompt in your own brain before you do any task going forward.
And there's more and more of it coming every single day. Uh,
Exactly.
and just to give you an example of what the output looks like for Read.ai, this, every meeting that you have, you'll now get a summary. The topics will be in there, action items. I love this piece because, when you do have action items, now you don't have to write them down. The bot knows what they are. And then finally, some key questions that were asked in the meeting. So this is something that the Teams integration is also very similar. You get a similar summary there. So now, Joel, let's talk a little bit about, let's say you're using Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, or you're using ChatGPT. Let's kind of train us a little bit. How can we get the most out of our prompts, right? So
Yep.
our questions, what you're looking for. Can you kind of explain the process and why this is so important to make sure you get good, actionable results?
Absolutely. So I mentioned before that a lot of people think of it as like a search engine. And they just sort of type in like they would a search engine. And then it comes up with, and we should throw this disclaimer on every single slide. AI makes mistakes, so don't believe everything that comes out of AI, which again, I always tell people it's like it's a perfect intern, right? It wants to learn and wants to help you, but in the end, you're the subject matter expert of your information. So make sure that, if it's representing you, that you've done your own due diligence there. But a perfect example is a lot of people will type in, their own name or someone they know to see, what information may come up. But that's a very, very rudimentary use of sort of prompting. So when you think about a prompt, and we'll take you through this, and then we'll show you an example of how it was actually used. The first thing you want to do is give it a persona. And when I mentioned before about how prompts could be a page to a page and a half, you literally would say, so instead of me writing something like, give me an outline for a presentation on AI, right? I'm going to get one result. But if I give it a persona as an expert in AI or as one of the founding fathers of AI, right? So that's a part of the persona. And then another one is if I were to say as an expert in AI, give me an outline for a presentation, it's going to come up with a lot of very technical jargon. So then you want to say, okay, well, what is this really? So as an expert in AI who's presenting to non-technical people, right? So now that's my persona. And again, just on a call, even just this morning, where someone was saying, it would say like, as an expert in AI who lives in New York City and is challenged with X, Y, and Z, again, like as much information as you can give it is really the key to helping refine and getting the perfect results out of it. The next piece is input, right? So give it some input. So again, what I'm taking you through here is the structure of what you'll see the result of. But in this case, it's like review this agenda, and then you paste in the agenda. Another example, and I posted this to LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago. I took my bio from LinkedIn, my summary bio from LinkedIn, and I dropped it into ChatGPT, and I said, how do I align with the profile of a CTO? And it scanned through, matched me up, gave me a quick summary on this point, this point, this point, and then said others, other CTOs would also have this, this, and this. And the interesting thing for me was to see that it was identifying areas that I have experience in, but I hadn't, highlighted that way. So again, the input is just as strong as the persona piece. And then make sure you tell it what you want. Like, what are you really trying to get out of it, right? So it's one thing to say, okay, I'm an expert. Here's my input. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think is not really what you want. Like, what do you really, really want to get out of your result? And then, like we mentioned before, it's not always going to be 100% accurate. So don't be afraid to refine and try again. So a lot of people are using AI to help compose emails, as an example, and it's very easy to compose again, compose again, compose again. On a daily basis, I use Grammarly. I'd like to consider myself a decent writer, but I still use Grammarly as like a checkpoint. And a lot of times Grammarly tries to change my style, so I reject it. But again, refine, try and again. And then inevitably it will actually start like learning your behavior, or you can teach it your behavior. So I could say the persona can actually be, partially me. So it could be as an expert in AI who is also Joel Evans, see the attached, presenting, this is what I want. So there's a lot of power in that prompt is a short
Yeah,
answer,
and I don't, Joel,
long
I don't
slide.
know that a lot of people fully understand that yet, because this is so new, but the better the prompt, the better the question to AI, the
Yep,
better the result.
absolutely.
And that's something we have to practice on, and it doesn't hurt to give it a try. You can go to copilot.microsoft.com and give it a try
Yeah,
and have fun with it.
yeah,
It's something that can generate some
OpenAI and
great results.
Meta and all the ones that are out there, they all like want you to have a good time. And
Yeah,
you can even just the tiny revision, back to your point, Eric, it's like to try again. You actually don't even really need to think too hard about trying again. You could say, let's try again, or give me another, give me another try. The other thing I've done a lot of times is I'll say it'll have a whole narrative, and I'll say turn this into bullet points, and then I'll say turn this into whatever. So you're sort of changing the context, which then gives you a totally different perspective as well.
so this here is an example that you put together, Joel. So let's take a look at this particular prompt.
Yep. So it's exactly what we were just talking about. If you think about the elements of the prompt, we've got the persona in here. So the persona in this scenario is an expert in AI presenting to non-technical people, right? And then review this agenda. So I'll be providing the agenda. And then what do I want? tell me what I'm missing. So in this scenario, I provided the agenda, the evolution of AI, AI is transforming, blah, 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 blah. And then you can see what its result was. Your agenda presenting to a non-technical is well structured. However, you might consider adding a few more elements. So it's pretty cool in the fact that this tiny little prompt with my little agenda bullets came up with, 3 things I should consider adding, which I didn't in the interest of time. But these are, good pieces here. I guess demystifying AI, we sort of hit on that a little bit. Ethical considerations,
I think that's a big
privacy
topic
concerns.
moving forward is all the
Yeah,
ethics around AI.
that would be
That's
a
a
whole
whole
other
other webinar series right
that's a
there.
whole other
Yeah.
webinar. And the future outlook, I think we're all seeing it, right? Every day is another announcement, but really they're multimodal. They're getting smarter and smarter. So as my input, I could now take a picture or I could show, a live view of something and ask the AI what I'm looking at. So you can see how it's just constantly evolving into a whole new experience.
So we have some questions for the audience, or from the audience, I should say. And if
Sure.
anybody wants to put additional questions in the Q&A box, please do so. We had an audience question. Where does AI gather all this data from?
It's an excellent question. So it's known as large language models. So they are trained, and you can read about it because every day OpenAI, as an example, is inking more deals to have access to more data that it can train their language model on. So based on that, it's basically learning all, from all the data. And then from there, you can have it look at your data. And based on that, it's not using your data to train the model. The model's already trained, but now it's going to use your data, as a sort of an input, and that's where the power of it all comes together.
So in particular, if you get the premium version of Copilot, so that's Microsoft's flagship AI product,
Mhm.
that uses your data from your company. Can you explain that a little more?
It uses your data as a data set just for you, but it's using all the trained, all the trained data and sort of the LLM part of it. The large language model has been trained on a tremendous amount more than your data, and it's not learning on your data. It's basically just looking at your data and using that as part of the result set.
So now if I allow Microsoft to access all of my company data for Copilot, is that safe? Because I'm
That
a
is
little
safe.
concerned about that, so
That is
Microsoft
safe.
doing that.
That is safe. It's not going back into the training data. That is safe.
Because that obviously, I'm sure our audience is wondering, well, if I put all my data up there, do I have to worry about it getting out into the wild, into the open internet?
Hmm. Well, and yep. So not specifically around the company, but there were some very early on concerns. I think Sarah Silverman led one of the, she's a comedian, led one of the biggest charges against OpenAI because they trained it on her jokes. They were in there somewhere, so you could say, write me a joke in the style of Sarah Silverman. And again, that's why you're seeing a lot of the announcements coming from OpenAI as they get legal permission as part of their partnerships to train the data. We're also seeing some misfires, which were also in the news. So Google was using, I think it was, parts of some things from Reddit as part of its AI overview. So if you do a search on Google, you'll see a little AI overview on top of the search results, and it tries to sort of give you, what you were hoping for. And a lot of that information was misfiring because again, it's based on it's based on what it used to sort of learn. So the data is only as good as what was inputted to get it going.
All right, very interesting. This is all cutting edge stuff. So, we only have about a minute left. So, Joel, very quickly, if somebody wanted to get started with AI, like what tool would you recommend so they can kind of dip their toe in the water? Something they can use on a daily basis.
I think you could start having a lot of fun with ChatGPT, or again, you can go to copilot.microsoft.com, which also right away gives you access to the real world of data that's out there, and then really play around with a lot of different prompts. And if you don't want to pay, you're using the free version. you can't necessarily input a document, but you can input, copy and paste from your document and play around and have a great time. And there's also, there's a bunch of search engines that are out there that also will leverage AI. So there's you.com, there's perplexity.ai. So you can really just start having a lot of fun there. And again, go to there's an AI for that .com and take a look at that. And certainly, from our webinar, if you want to start trying to optimize your meeting experiences, we gave a handful of those too. But I think the best way to start having some fun is copilot.microsoft.com. There's some prompts to get you started there. Meta.ai is also getting going with some prompts. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, look at me on LinkedIn and start reading my posts, because I keep trying to come up with ways that non-technical people can take full advantage of what's out there today.
Hey, thanks so much, Joel. It's been a pleasure having you here. If anybody has any questions about AI moving forward, I'll give you Joel's info in a second, but please connect with me. You can book a call. If you're interested in starting to use Teams and leverage some of that AI technology, reach out to us. We can get you the license and you can go from there. And here is Joel's information. So if you have any questions, any of my clients, feel free to reach out to Joel directly, or you can give me a holler and I'll make sure that we get on the agenda to see if we can leverage AI to help your business. I know we can. There's a bunch of great opportunities out there, and this is something that is cutting edge and it will be growing. So we will all be using AI in our businesses, and that's something that is here today. So thanks, Joel. It's been a real
all in
pleasure.
caps there. Book a free 30-minute discovery. I'm always happy to talk. I'm always excited to learn about new businesses and new models and looking at ways that emerging technology can help streamline them. So
thank you so much, Joel. This was great having you here today, and thank you to the audience as well. I know your time is valuable, and we sure appreciate it. So this will be available as a recording, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
thanks for having me, Eric.